The top 10% of men are the only men that get all the women. The top 20% of men are the only men that get all the women. This is a really popular statistic that is just commonplace on the internet today. And I so happen to have had a clip on TikTok kind of go, I wouldn't say super viral, but crazier than the other ones. And in it I described that men at the, we'll call it, quote unquote, top of the hierarchy in that regard, experience different reactions from women, particularly in private, than men at the bottom. And so what I want to do in this video is talk about the misunderstandings of that statistic and why it's actually misunderstood. Usually when people talk about that, they're talking about social 20%, meaning those who have, let's say, maybe money, or let's say things that improve a woman's lifestyle. That's what men think of as top 20%. Oh, I'm a top 20%, I'm a high value man. No. The true top 20%, where you see the truest reality of a woman's sexual nature, is a sexual 20%. The men women find most sexually attractive, right? And this is going to be really key. So, you want to buckle up. We're going to touch on the basis of how most relationships are formed. We're going to touch on even some aspects in terms of why so many guys are in relationships and often get either left, cheated on, even mid-marriage. The woman, it's like epidemic now, women divorcing men. He's perfect, but I'm gonna still leave, and his guys are confused. And so we're gonna clarify all of that in this video, so that guys that are unmarried, currently married, or in a relationship or looking to get in a relationship can know how to select women that are actually ideal for them, so that 2-3 years down the line he doesn't come home and catch another guy in his bed or see something in her phone as a result of the lack of information or a lack of understanding of what the 20% actually means. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
Okay, so let's get into what the top 20% is. When we talk about the top 20%, what are we actually describing? What makes these men sexually compelling without effort?
Right. So I think a baseline thing to understand about sexual dynamics is that men and women have almost opposite goals in the beginning. Right. So what makes a relationship non-platonic? Right, when a man sees a woman and he says, okay, I'm going to go out of my way to use my time and attention, my life force, to invite this woman into my world. Why do I say invite her into your world? Because there's always the expectation of dependency, typically for a man, and typically for a woman. What does that mean? Well, you approach the woman and you invite her to something. Let's say she agrees. The burden of contact is usually on the man to initiate. The burden of leadership to, let's say a traditional route to a date, is on the man. And in that invitation, he has the burden of payment, and then the burden of the future. And I say burden in a neutral way, but you're the one who leads the dynamic, and the woman follows your lead or chooses not to, in the case of going, okay, I'm not going to continue this interaction with this man. And then leading up to sexual activity, it's also the case, right? Are there cases where the woman initiates? Yes. But we're talking about 99% of cases here. The expectation is from the woman to be led into the situation. She doesn't want to be feeling like she has to more or less show up as a male or a masculine being to lead the man, while he's the one who approached her, right? So he's coming up to her, can I get into your world, right? Tell me where to go to eat. Where are we going to eat? Okay, and then
that.
Right. But there are reasons for this that we may touch on here.
Yeah.
But coming back, the expectation of dependency, a woman is expecting, if she's going to agree to follow your lead, for you to take care of her, more or less.
Yeah.
Now, take care of doesn't necessarily mean financial. It could mean whatever the direction. If she's like, oh, you invite her to go to the park and you're following her, she's following your lead. Mm-hmm. There's an inherent expectation that if something pops off from her going where you invited her to, that you're not going to just run off and leave her high and dry.
Yeah. Right.
Why? Because you led her into this situation. She wouldn't have been in that place if it weren't for her accepting your invitation. And so there's an expectation of protection. She's expecting to be a dependent in some sense.
Right.
She's expecting to be under your covering. Mm-hmm. So that's very important. Mm-hmm. Right? Because covering looks very different depending on the woman's level of interest. Mm-hmm. So going back, when you understand that women and men have almost opposite goals, what does that mean? Well, the man choosing to initiate contact is motivated by sexual desire, right? If he had no sexual desire, he wouldn't go out of his way to approach her. Now, if they bump into each other or for some reason something about her made him feel like they'd be very good friends, maybe she's wearing a shirt of his favorite anime or favorite sports team or something, then that can initiate some form of interaction, and that can lead to a friendship. But typically, the man is approaching because of sexual attraction. So if sexual attraction is motivating the approach, that means sex is on the table. It's one of the primary desires. Additionally, a woman being approached and agreeing to a man's invitation is because she also wants sex from that man. Mm-hmm. Now, that's something that's not usually thought about. Now, guys will go, well, no, man, women use me for dates all the time. We're going to get to why that happens. Mm-hmm. But on a baseline level, a woman evaluates a man's value in terms of what does she think he has that she also wants to experience? Mm-hmm. Right? And that's very important. It's really, really important as we go into this. So, man initiates, woman agrees.
Right.
He's sexually attracted to her, so he initiates. Her acceptance of that when the man does that is under the basis of her being mutually sexually attracted to him. Mm-hmm. Whether they have sex or not that's a whole different conversation. But the assumption by saying, hey, I want to come out with you, the baseline of that is that we're mutually sexually attracted to each other. So we both want it to eventually become a sexual dynamic, become intimate. Right. That's mutually desired. Mm-hmm. So where do all these problems come around? Like, why am I even able to have a company that does or helps men with their relationships? If that was that simple, don't guys just approach women, women agree or disagree, and they keep doing that until they find a woman that makes sense for them. Right. If it was that simple, then there would be no need for this. There would be no quote-unquote dating problems or historically guys, there being an 80% that doesn't have their way, right? Mm-hmm. If it was that simple. So how do things get complicated? Well, the variable that changes things is the level of interest on both parties' ends. So we'll go back and say man approaches woman. Now we're going to assume that the guy is very skilled in terms of his ability to speak with women, because there are other variables that affect. Like a woman could find a man physically attractive and his conversational ability is horrendous, right? Or he smells, right? There could be other things or his breath stink. Like there are other things that we're going to assume the best case scenario here, right, where the guy knows what he's doing, knows all that. Mm-hmm. So initiates approach with women, right? Now, from the guy's point of view, the woman is what we're going to call his first choice, right? A woman that he would say that's usually how people say that's my type.
Right.
Right. Now, the woman, upon being approached, evaluates the man as well, and he's either first choice, second choice, you could say third choice, or no choice.
Right.
The thing is that oftentimes guys only evaluate where she ranks in his value system, and sometimes are not very good at determining where he lies in hers. Right. And so typically men go, I want her, that's it.
Right.
And so when they approach, again, assuming that this conversational ability isn't the problem, his looks isn't the problem, like in terms of the controllables, right, his presentation, and assuming that his confidence isn't, because there's the confidence or this relationship with himself, his presentation, and his conversation.
Right.
Those three variables determine how well an interaction goes in the beginning. So let's assume all those things are top notch.
Right.
Then at that point, it's a matter of where you rank within her hierarchy.
Right.
Where more or less are you her type, so to speak. And so a man can have great conversation, great self-confidence, great presentation, but still not be a woman's first choice. But doesn't mean because he's not her first choice means she can't make it work.
Right.
Or there isn't some level of curiosity. It's just not a primal physical attraction that's just, I'm really physically attracted to this man.
Right.
I'm really attracted to his energy or whatever that looks like. So since there is a potential difference in the interest levels, she's my type and she's like, not really my type, but let's see, right? When that is there's an imbalance from the onset of the dynamic. So going back to what I said about women and men have different, you could say different objectives in the front end.
Yeah.
From typically speaking, especially because women get approached far more, it's not even close. Typically speaking, since both of them are trying to get to the point of sexual intimacy, because that's the point of it being a sexual relationship, and guys often forget this, and we're going to explain why, the difference with the 20%, for why most guys believe that the woman's objective isn't to get to sex. So guy has interest, he goes, okay, I want her, and she agreed to go out with me. But the guy's desire is to get to sexual intimacy with as little investment as possible.
Right.
The woman's goal is to get to sexual intimacy with as much investment as possible. So from the man's end, his greatest imagined scenario would be walking up to a woman who is his ideal type, who's like, I am so into you. I have never lusted a man so much in my life that I have to have you right now. I don't want to date. I don't want, like a man approaching a woman. That's his ideal situation. I don't want to date. You're just everything I've ever wanted. And if let's say that he's looking for a long-term relationship, they run off in the sunset and she's just enthralled with him. He didn't have to take her on a date. He didn't have to prove himself. He wants to be desired, quote unquote, for himself, just for who he is.
Right.
Not for what he has, not for what he can do. That's the most ideal situation. So if you take note, mutual agreement, mutual desire with as little investment as possible. Whereas a woman is thinking, I may want him, and he took me to Paris, he da-da-da, he da-da-da, 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 bought me a Lambo, and da-da-da, and then we had sex. Right. And so now there's a case where that's not the primary motivation, which is where we go into the men, that's her first choice. But we're going to get there in a bit.
Yeah.
So because women are approached more and they're getting invitations more, they're evaluating, very rarely do they run into their ideal first choice physically and energetically. So they're getting approached by men that are not second choice, third choice, or would not give him any if her life depended on it.
Breathe on him.
Right.
Right.
However, because most men do not evaluate where he stands on the woman's hierarchy, he's just focused on, I need to get between her legs no matter what I have to invest. Now, there are times where the investment cost is way too much. So that would look like if a woman said, if a man said, hey, I'm going to have sex with you no matter what, like in a creepy way.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, I'm down. But the investment is $2 million. Right?
Right.
Technically speaking, he got his answer. Yeah, you can have sex with me. It's just $2 million.
Right.
And so most guys at that point, right, there are some out there that, oh, okay, that's all? Right. But most guys at this point will go, the investment to get the vagina is too high. It's too high. So
Price went up.
Yeah, it's too much. So I'm going to have to pass.
Yeah.
So let's keep playing that game. Let's drop it. So let's say she's like, okay, maybe not 2 million. What about 1 million? He's like, nope. What about 100,000? He says, no. What about 10,000? She says, no. What about 1,000? Now a guy says, oh, I'm not paying 1,000. Oh, really? Let's tally up your last 4 dates. And so you start getting to the place where we get to assessing that there's a conversation about how, in the onset, well, how much are you willing to invest? Now, the question is, why do some men have different requirements for the amount of investment he has to make? And that's really what the conversation on the internet is about. The red pill it's not really about women changing or women. What guys are up in arms about is now that they've gotten a glimpse into the reality of some men, where they realize that there are men that the women don't ask for any investment from. They just want a sexual exchange, and that's it. I wouldn't say that's necessarily all they may want, but that they don't necessarily. Yeah, they don't have to take them on a date. They don't have to shoot. They approach them.
Right.
And so when that reality used to be hidden, there was no internet. It wasn't being streamed and recorded. And so when things like that occurred, you may know a guy where it happens, or guys may think, oh, well, it's because he's a football player or a basketball player or whatever, a pretty boy. And you may get a glimpse of that. But now it's becoming so common because people are putting it on the internet so much more.
Right.
That guys are going, hold up. I took her on 4 dates to get with her. And you mean to tell me, let's say he crossed paths with a guy that had an encounter with her too. What? You mean to tell me she just slept with you on site? When he hears that, it triggers anger in him, because he's like, I got a raw deal. The investment that I put in versus the investment you put in is imbalanced. And so he's like, man, and he feels like he got played.
Yeah.
Right? And now, before, women would be able to conceal which guy made what investment. Why? Based upon where he stood in her ranking.
Yeah.
So going back to the ranking system, when a man approaches a woman, if he does not know how to evaluate where she places him, which most guys, because they lack the self-confidence, the presentation, and the conversational ability, are usually placed very low. That's most guys experience. And so they have an experience where they assume that all women don't want sex, and if they do, they have to be convinced through extensive investments, like dates, taking her on a trip, like needs sex, and so, which is why a lot of women perceive access to them sexually as or perceive them access between their legs as more valuable than a man's sexual companionship. They value theirs over a man's sexual companionship. Why would that be the case?
Right.
Because they're used to men coming up willing to invest, whether that be, usually it's financially, it's usually directly financially or indirectly financially.
Right.
Which is why on the internet it's so common now to hear women go, oh, if you ain't, why are you even approaching me and not offering to buy my groceries? Like that, the men that believe that the vagina is more valuable than the penis, fundamentally, when they approach a woman, they go, I know that I am not of equal value. I know that our desire is not mutual. It's not balanced.
Right.
So how can I compensate for this imbalance? What do I need to invest to compensate for this imbalance?
Right.
And that's most guys' relationship with women outside of the 20%, sexual 20%. So now guys go, okay, well, to get into 20%, I need to get rich. And so now I can get access to all of the attractive women. Now I'm in the financial or the social 20%. What does that mean? I have a lifestyle that is quote unquote better than 80% of people.
Right.
I have nice cars, I have whatever to watch. And so the assumption then is, because of that, I have more women. No. Because of that, you're a way bigger fish to more women.
Yeah.
You are a way bigger fish. Why would she go try to if there are a bunch of guys who are not her first choice. You're not either, potentially. It doesn't mean because you have money, you're not her first choice. But don't think because you have money, you become every woman's first choice. No, you're still her third choice or her no choice. But it'll all come down to what you're willing to invest.
Right.
And we see this all the time. Oh, I took her on a trip, got her a Birkin. Da, da, da. Yeah, great. Keep investing, buddy.
Yeah.
And you're going to get an opportunity to hit this. Keep investing. And so, and it's funny because those women are you think some guys or the top salespeople are in, at companies are good salesmen. No. A lot of these women convince men to spend their hard-earned money to get between their legs for nothing.
Yeah.
Like that's prime sales, right?
Yeah.
Right. Like bro will drop 20, 30, 40 grand to do something that's natural and free. That's true sales.
Yeah.
Right. And then make him feel like he's won afterwards. That's true sales. Now, some guy hearing this is, if he's still in the paradigm of, wait, what? There's a reality where, sexual exchange between men and women is equal. Like that's even a shattering paradigm.
Right.
But we're going to get even further. So coming back where it's like, okay, so if this is a game of investment and it's just a matter of how much investment is required from each man that approaches, and then you're saying to me that the guy who invests the least is the guy she's most attracted to. The guy who invests the most is the guy she's least attracted to. So if she's like, oh, well, such and da 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 da. Now, it doesn't mean that if you go out with a woman on a date or something, means that you're very low on her totem pole or something like that.
Right.
As I've always said to guys, the point of a date is not to go and convince some girl to have sex with you.
Right. It's to get to know
Right.
who you're dealing with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To see if you guys are in alignment to know if whether or not you should move forward.
Right.
There are times where you may choose to have that sexual encounter immediately. And there are times where you may go, oh, let's chill. And that you guys may be intimate immediately, or you may choose to hold off, have a conversation, or a quote unquote date, which is really just a conversation over food that you pay for. It's really no different.
Right.
Right. I know the average guy's paradigm is, oh, well, I need to show her a good time. Because again, guys are used to not getting the side of a woman that she shows to her first choice. So he starts to believe that is just what women are like. So when he finds out that that same woman who he had to invest X amount of time, conversation, investment, and she reluctantly gave him a kiss, a blowjob, or some sex, finds out she excitedly gave it to another man with no investment required, quote unquote. It was just an even exchange in her mind, or even more so the case, it was not an even exchange. She got more out of it by getting the opportunity to have sex with that man, which it might be even a greater paradigm shift for another, depending on the guy that's hearing this. It's like, wait, there's a reality where women getting with a particular guy feels like a win for them. Yes.
Right.
I mean, it's not a crazy thing. Like I always say, and I don't like to use things like fame, because then guys think, oh, it's because of this, right? But if we pay attention to the average, situation with, so let's separate men and women. You go to a concert, or you see, how men respond to someone famous versus women, right? At a concert, the women are screaming, crying, throwing panties on stage. They're far more excited and uncontrollably lustful than men. When they are around a person, and it's not like, that one weird girl over there. It's just a very normal thing for an artist to know that, oh yeah, panties are getting thrown, bras, woman trying to go backstage with 3 of her friends. Like, we see that and go, oh, that's just because he's famous. Okay, let's say that's the case. Where does the tendency in women to do that come from? They weren't trained to do that. Their mom and pop didn't grow them up say, oh, no. Yet it is common across all women. Yeah. All over the planet, without exception. So that tendency to excitedly want to be intimate quickly with a man that is her first choice, or even something beyond that, right, which is a fantasy man, is something she will excitedly do, and will perceive that as something that is a privilege and a great opportunity to have had. Right. Why do you think the Chris Brown can sell a photo for thousands of dollars? Right? Because the women going through that, for them, it is such a unique opportunity. It's worth so much they'll spend thousands of dollars to do it. Right. For a photo. Just a regular guy. Right? But not within her mind. And so the question is, does she run into men that are not just regular guys in her mind upon encountering them? Yes. And what they will, quote unquote, have to do or not have to do in order to get sexual access will be very different than the man that for her is, I'll give him the time.
He'll do.
Yeah. So once that's understood, then we can start getting into the conversation of the true 20%, which is not about your lifestyle. Yeah. Because you're still going to be doing a lot of investing. The actual 20% is about who do women require no investment from when it comes to intimacy, or little to no investment from when it comes to intimacy.
Like, she saw you and
she knew
that man right there.
Yep. And
he could do whatever he wants to.
And women know that.
Yeah.
Now, this is a secret they don't want men to know, because if the guy, which is kind of what's happening right now on the internet, right? The cat's coming out of the bag, pun intended, right? Right. if the cat's coming out of the bag, as men are starting to see that the same woman is treating men differently. Mm-hmm. And it's like, whoa.
Why would I invest so much? Yeah.
And that's where I'm not taking no woman on a date. You're not doing. That's where that's coming from. They're like, we're starting to see that when you guys are with your friends and that one dude walks by or or I'm walking by, slip the number, like all these things, or the reality of what is said to friend. Oh yeah, if he comes over to me, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Right? Mm-hmm. That primal lust, the secret of primal lust in women is starting to come to the forefront. Whereas a generation of men throughout history, or generations of men throughout history, most of them thought that wasn't even a thing. Women don't want sex. Right. And you have to convince them and invest them into the desire for sex. Mm-hmm. And then you've succeeded, not understanding that if that's the way it went in the beginning, then you're still her sexual third choice. Mm-hmm. Or you're her sexual. That's really what we're talking about.
Right. That don't change over time.
Bingo. Yeah. And so what does that look like when you establish a relationship? You're still her sexual third choice, right, but you're maybe her lifestyle first choice. Mm. And you have men who are sexual first choice and her lifestyle third choice. As a woman matures, getting into her late 20s, wanting to have kids, most women are going to pick their lifestyle first choice. Mm-hmm. But don't think that her sexual first choice might not still have access to her. Right. And a lot of women, because of because her friends are picking lifestyle first choices. And so she's like, well, I don't want to pick my sexual first choice, but my lifestyle isn't adequate in comparison to my other friends. They're going to go, girl, that's who you're marrying. Right. Mm-hmm. And they may feel judged if they are not leveling up, or if the man is, quote unquote, beneath her status to her social circle, whether that be parents, friends, or whatever. Now, you have some women who are like, hey, I'm going to ride with them. Right. That situation between the legs is so elite that, right. And so you have somewhere like, I'm going to have to pick the lifestyle first choice, even though he doesn't do it for me. And she will play the role. She will spread the legs. She will use the lube. And will do what she can. She'll pop out a kid or two, and then boom, 4 years and she can't do it anymore. Mm-hmm. The kids, that's really why I don't want to have sex with you. And it's 10 years in, and the dude can count on his hands how many times they've had sex. Right. Now, there is the caveat of a man being a woman's sexual third choice or no choice could be doing things he's not aware he's doing that could technically bump his rank up to 2 or even maybe 1. Yeah. Right. There are things he doesn't know that turn women off that he does repeatedly. Mm-hmm. This is the typical nice guy category. Yeah. That if he understood certain things, he could go from third choice sexually to first choice. Right. And so be her lifestyle first choice and her sexual first choice. Right. But oftentimes guys conflate being a woman's lifestyle first choice and a woman's sexual first choice, and think because she's in a relationship with him or she marries him, that means she lusts him. Not necessarily the case. Right. And oftentimes what ends up happening is you're her lifestyle first choice, but her sexual second, third, or no choice, and she runs into her sexual first choice. Yeah. And you don't want to see what really happens. And that's why a lot of that stuff of, got DM'd on Instagram or, and this is where a lot of the red pill sort of theory is coming from, because it feels like, I can't trust these women. It's more accurate. There are women who are untrustworthy, just like there are men who are untrustworthy. It's just now coming into fruition, and it's coming into the light. Before, the assumption was that women just didn't cheat. Yeah. Right. Women don't cheat, right? Mm-hmm. Now it's coming to reality that they're sexual beings that have eyes and lust like men, if not even more in some cases.
Yeah.
And now they're seeing, oh, wait, you said what happened, bro? You had how many girls trying to blah, blah, blah at the same time? And da-da-da-da. And they're like, yeah, right?
Right.
Easily. It's not supposed to be easy. Not only were there multiple of them at once, it was easy. That's a paradigm shift.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, and it was the girl you went out with last week that hasn't slept with you yet. Right? And it was the first night I met. Like, all those things start to confine. It's like short circuit, and you get right. And rightfully so. I can't, that's a really earth shattering reality.
Yeah.
And now at this point, it would be a matter of like, what now?
Yeah. And it's like, because you were saying like there are untrustworthy women, just like there are untrustworthy men. But then there's also like, I feel like the evaluation in the front end that like if you're not doing that evaluation, it could like that could be something that slipped through the cracks. Basically.
Yes. And why would that happen? Because oftentimes the man is not evaluating the woman's ranking of him. He's only evaluating his ranking of her.
Right.
I want her. And she's a baddie. Da, da, da.
Yeah.
All he's thinking about is what it would be like if I bagged her. So a lot of these guys are investing their self-respect, are investing their money, and they're investing a hell of time just for the woman to allow her between his legs. When I say invest his self-respect, she disrespects him, uses him, talks to him any kind of way. More or less, he's a trick, right? That's what the urban term for it is, right? Or a simp these days.
Right.
And, he's waited 24 months. But when he finally gets the opportunity, he feels like he's on top of the world. That's why I say a lot of these women are the greatest salespeople.
Right.
Right? Not these dudes selling products. No, they're good. But I don't know how you top, selling a product for thousands of dollars that is natural and free.
Yeah. And
convincing grown men that that's okay and you should be happy that you paid. Low-key got a discount. It was only $25,000.
It's usually on the market for $50.
Right. And he's like, oh. Right. While the guy that's in the shadows is tearing her up. And she's sending some of the money to him. Oh,
yeah. That's crazy. Yeah. That would be like earth shattering for a man who always having to invest.
But there's a silver lining. It's discernment. And we'll get to that. Yeah. It doesn't have to be the case. A man can control for a lot of that by assessing. So discernment is king in this part of it, right?
Yeah.
There's discerning where you rank for her. Right. If you're a man that's only had experiences where it's been difficult, there's a lot of things that you need to learn because there are things you're doing that you don't realize you're doing that are causing a woman to even if you would have been her physical first choice, you become her sexual third choice, fourth choice, fifth choice because of things that you don't realize you're doing in terms of your behavior and your conversation and potentially even your presentation.
Yeah. Okay. And why does a man who isn't in that category have to invest more just to get access? And what determines how much he has to invest?
As I said, I already kind of touched on this, but to kind of wrap it here in terms of like packaging that. Yeah. Men and women want sex, fundamental first rule. Yeah. Right. Nature took care of that. What determines how much investment is done by the man typically is where that woman's desire for him is. Right. If he's her first choice, his investment is not going to be very high. Right. Before they become intimate. If her interest is very low, the investment will be extremely high. Yeah. And he still might not even get tapped. That's why a lot of guys will get played. The interest was zero sexually. But you say you're going to take me where? You say you're going to buy me what? I'll play this game.
Yeah.
Flies her to God knows where.
Right.
Thinking just to get her. I'm not ready. You were never going to be ready.
Exactly.
Right? And it's the responsibility is on the man to evaluate. Now, how can you do that? I know it's the big bad thing that I always say. It's to state your intentions up front.
Right.
Very clearly. And when it's your clear, it's very difficult for a woman that has other plans for you in terms of what she's looking to invest. It's very difficult for her to play because she's like, but
it's no gray area for her to play in. If
no.
you like I'm attracted to you and this and that, like it's very hard for her to be like, okay, well.
Yeah. Right. And so a woman may respond to that by trying to potentially shame the guy into grayness. Oh my God, I can't believe you asked me that. But he's just being honest with you about what his desires and intentions are.
Yeah.
No woman, unless she's planning to use him, would prefer dishonesty.
Right.
Right. Oh, I wanted him to play with me and not tell me why he's really talking to me.
So what exactly would that so let's say you approaching a woman, like what would that sound like for you to like clearly state your intentions?
So whenever I'm teaching guys, always the first step is to clarify your intent.
Right.
So let's say that excuse me, the intent is always sexual.
Yeah.
That's why you're approaching. Now, the nature of the sexual relationship can vary. It can be, I want a one-night stand or something like that. I want a casual sexual relationship. I want a girlfriend. I want a wife. I want a third wife, right? Whatever that may look like. But the motivation fundamentally is to build a sexual relationship, not a platonic relationship.
Right.
It's just the type of it, meaning how intertwined will our lives become within this sexual relationship? Will it be very low intertwinement, friends with benefits, one night stand, or it be very high intertwinement, wife, girlfriend? So if he can clarify with himself, okay, well, I'm looking for low intertwinement and low investment, then he would express that to the woman. Because there are plenty of women, if you're her first choice, she's out having fun, especially if she's out of town or something. That's exactly what she wants.
Right.
She's like, oh, I was hoping somebody like you would come up to me tonight. And she wants low investment. She just wants lustful, pleasurable sex. That's it. Now that, for a guy to be like, nah, there are only certain types of women who are like that, or that mindset is what would let me know that a guy has not had or seen many women's true faces.
Yeah.
Right. It's the clerk at your job. It's the church girl at the thing. It just depends on the woman's level of guilt and shame around her sexuality and the discreetness. Because I always say, you never know what actually happens when you don't know where someone is.
Yeah.
Especially sexually. Don't think because, oh, Mary would never. Okay. She would never with you.
Right.
But we never know. So oftentimes we project on people, oh, that person would.
Right.
Okay. And it's useful for her to continue to have you think that. And it'll be our little secret. Because I promise you'll never find out. So it's important to understand there's nothing wrong with that. It's not like that makes Mary wrong, which is why Mary tends to hide it. Because some guys will judge and shame her because they're not her first choice. But if they got the opportunity, Right. If they got the opportunity, there'd be no better than the guy they're judging Mary with. That's just the facts.
Yeah.
And so let's cut the phoniness out of it. Because a lot of guys need to take a hard look in the mirror and be real with themselves. You know, as I've said to a quote recently from a recent training, was that the conversation you're unwilling to have with yourself is the one that a woman is unwilling to have with you.
Yeah.
So going back to what you'd say, once, let's say the guy clarifies that his intentions are short term,
right?
Then he would go up to her and say, for example, he's like, excuse me. Let's say this is a non-like club environment or something like that. He may say, excuse me, da da da. He would state what the core reason why he went over there.
Yeah.
So he may say, I thought you were gorgeous. I wanted to come over here and introduce myself. What's your name? Mm-hmm. I thought you were pretty. Just say what was truly on your mind initially.
Yeah.
Right? Don't try to. When you're a beginner, the best thing to do is state it as matter of factly as you're thinking it. Mm-hmm. Right. So that would be the first segment, right? If she's in the middle of something, you do acknowledgement of reality, meaning, hey, you know, I noticed you're reading. I don't mean to interrupt. I thought you were gorgeous. I had to come over here and meet you. My name is Bob, of course.
Of course it's Bob.
You know, what's your name? Right. And she's like, oh, my name is Mary. I'm like, okay, Mary, cool. And depending on what his intentions are, he would communicate that, because if it's a short-term exchange, that may look like, Mary, I'm only in town for this weekend. I saw you, and I'm going to be very forward to not waste either of our times. I'm looking to hook up this weekend. Mm-hmm. Right. I know it's a bit forward, and if you're not interested, I'll leave you alone right now. But if you are interested, then I'd love for us to exchange numbers for a secret rendezvous later on.
Right.
But you got to promise to keep this between us. Right.
Yeah.
If he's her first choice, or that's the space she's in to where that's something that she's intrigued by or looking for, you'd be surprised.
Yeah.
Right. Because, as I said, the baseline thing is that men and women want sex.
Right.
The difference is that guys assume women want sex less than them because so many women reject them. Right. It's like, if women wanted sex so much, why aren't they having it with me? Here comes the 20%.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all we got back there.
Yeah. But I got a question, though, because...
Sure.
Because even what you just saying, that line, like, I feel like that, not that line, like it's a line or something, but with the 20%,
yeah, I
feel like that would work.
Right.
But with the not 20%,
of course,
that wouldn't work.
Right.
So what? Like, I need to know, like.
What do you need to know?
I need to know, like, what would make the difference between, like, what would make the 20%, the 80% guy,
mm-hmm.
What would make the 80% guy able to do that?
Well, if he wasn't, I think a better way to phrase it was, why is he in the 80%?
Okay, yeah. Why is he in the 80%?
Because the assumption when guys hear that would be like, oh, you need to be like male model level, handsome.
Right.
720 height.
720 is crazy.
What else? Pull up with the approach in the Lambo while you subtle flex your Richard Mille, right?
Right.
Whatever fantasy, but in reality, be a 5'9" guy, very innocuous, that you wouldn't think anything of, that will have the stories of 10 of those in a row. Right? Okay. So there are 4 factors. Mm-hmm. 3 within his control, 1 isn't.
Okay. So
what separates the 80 and the 20? There's the first aspect, which is the relationship with himself, which usually is referenced as confidence. But everything in life is conversational. So the relationship with himself just simply means what is the conversation within himself before he goes to approach her. So is the conversation within himself negative? Oh my God, she's too bad for me. Oh, she'll never like. That's a negative internal conversation, which is what's called low confidence, right? Or no, it's no aura, or whatever that looks like, right? But that just means you have very poor negative conversation within yourself,
Right.
or negative conversation, or poor conversation rather. So the first step would be the 20% man has very good internal conversation, which is called a self-image or confidence, just keeping it simple. So incredibly high self-belief.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Very high expectation of success.
Right.
And women, that's the first thing a woman picks up. Right? Because we said the words come after your presence. So what and how she hears it is dependent upon the presence that precedes the words. The second thing, which is what guys are more used to, which is his presentation, right? So that looks like his hygiene, his particular look, his style, his body language, his mannerisms.
How he keep himself up, like.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, does he look presentable from her point of view, right? This is usually where the woman is evaluating whether or not he is her type or where he ranks within her choices. So his level of self-confidence, putting it simple, and then his presentation. I won't say his looks necessarily. It could be his face, but if your self-confidence is low and you're facially her first choice, it still won't go well. Right. So that's primary and relationship with itself.
And people think that, like, oh, if you good looking, then it don't matter,
Right. That's not true.
That's not,
No. That only typically apply, because the thing about it is that guys think because a girl gives a guy that's handsome her number, that one, they had sex, and secondly, she's sexually satisfied.
Right.
Those are very different things.
Yeah.
Right. Like, the dude could have been horrible in bed, or they just never had sex. They just texted, or she went on a date, or it was cute, but I wasn't really turned on by him.
No conversation.
Yeah.
No.
Very different.
Yeah.
Then we have the third one, which is conversation. So we have your internal conversation, which is confidence. Then we have your presentation, which is your external expression.
Yes.
And then we have your external conversation with the woman.
Right.
And that's what usually is called game or charisma. So back in the day, they used to reference the first point as inner game, and then talking to the woman would be our quote unquote outer game.
Right. But
that's also a really integral part, because the cadence and the tone and the actual word selection, all that blending in bleeds into the woman's, like, I've never had somebody approach me like that before, but for some reason I'm curious to find out, right? Now that's very discreet typically.
Yeah.
So these aren't things guys, oh, that will never work. Okay. Well, that let me know where you stand in terms of your experiences.
Exactly.
Right. Because why? Why would it need to work? Because their fundamental assumption is that women don't want sex.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? It's low. You haven't invested in it. You can hear the internal dialogue. So hopefully this video starts to unravel your programming.
Right.
You're used to super high investment. So the idea of a woman wanting sex as much, if not more, than a man is so crazy to you that you're like, there's no way that happens. But it happens all the time. In fact, women suggest a lot of those things. If, as you go up in terms of how many women find you as their first choice, that's when you're going to go into the territory of, not only is it quick, but it's in multiples. It's 3s, 4s, 5.
They coming up to you like,
yeah,
hey.
Right.
Yeah. And
these kinds of things are being promoted on the internet. So guys think, oh man, I'm cooked because this guy, and there's just a lot more that you can do, and it's far more complicated than that, and you don't want to assume simply because a woman gave a man her number that that's some big thing. Right. The real monsters are not online recording shit. They are not, I promise you. Right. I'm like, it'd be the most innocuous 70-year-old guy who will tell you some crazy stories. Oh man, you know, back in my day when I was traveling, da 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 da.
I was gonna say something real quick.
Are you gonna say it or
No.
you're not gonna say it? Okay.
It's not for camera.
Right. But it's, you'd never guess.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's some guys that you look at, you be like, oh, I have to be like he gets women. And he doesn't.
Right.
Right. You some guys, I don't know. And bro is tearing it up every day. And hundreds, thousands. Regular dude. Now, you kind of have to make that your life, right? If that's something that's your objective, you're going to have a season where women are your life if you just, you know, want to rack up counts for the sake of it. But I make that point to say it doesn't necessarily mean it's the male model guy, because what women get turned on by and what men think women get turned on by are usually very different things.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's what I'd say, to get from the 80 to 20. It's very doable. Just improve your internal conversation. You improve your presentation and you improve your conversation. And if you can improve those to elite levels, 20% levels, whether you're a short guy, whether you're a bald guy, and then really target women who you're their first choice. And you'd be surprised what kind of experiences you can have. Things that you thought were only reserved for whatever you think they're reserved for.
Right. Whoever that.
Yeah, for you is.
Yeah. Well, you kind of just answered my last question, which was, how does accepting this reality change the way a man approaches women and improves himself without resentment? So.
Yeah. To really, like, what do I do with this information? It's more about, okay, well, I know that my outcomes currently are the result of
internal conversation,
my presentation, and my conversation.
Right.
Obviously, my company focuses on the conversational element. Well, both of them, the internal and external. I just don't usually tell guys they're going to be fixing their internal because they don't know that's the problem.
Right.
But, you know, that's usually where the bulk of the problem lies. When I'm actually speaking with a woman, what do I do? What do I say? How do I go about it? Da, 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 da. But a hidden element that's often not discussed is, you could say, the hidden, you know, the true first, so what I'm looking for, the true first step, which is to make sure that you're very high on her hierarchy before you do anything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you can be doing da-da-da, and you have guys who are great confidence, great presentation, great conversation, but he's just not her type. But he still managed to get with her sexually. But he's all right. Like, you know, she's cool. Like, but that baseline lust is not very high.
Yeah.
And he's almost always running an uphill battle. Whereas, let's say if we were to measure, like, okay, he has a 9 out of 10 confidence, 9 out of 10 presentation, 9 out of 10 conversation, but her lust for him is a 5 out of 10, right? It doesn't even necessarily mean he's unattractive. It could just be his particular type is not usually what she goes for.
Right.
And there are other factors, you know, we're just talking about in the beginning.
Yeah.
A guy who's a 10 out of 10 her type, 7 out of 10 internal conversation, 7 out of 10 presentation, and let's say 8 out of 10 conversation, she may prefer him.
Right.
Right. Because that baseline just is higher. And that's a hidden sort of step that most guys assume, because she let me get between her legs means that everything is smooth sailing from here. It's like, if that were the case, we wouldn't have all these these divorces. We wouldn't have all these cheatings. So yeah, I'd wrap up and say, just remember, you need to evaluate whether or not you're her lifestyle first choice, you're the lifestyle top 20% man, or you're the sexual top 20% man. But do understand that those are two different hierarchies. You can be a lifestyle bum of bums and a 1% sexual, in terms of the sexual hierarchy. Wherever you go, women are dropping panties. But you don't have two nickels to rub together. And you can have $1 billion and women wouldn't even sleep with you for $1 billion. Right? So, but they will flock to you for lifestyle benefits. And so it can be tricky for a man with means to determine where he really stands within her sexual hierarchy. Right. Because he's like, is she with me for my lifestyle or is she with me for me? Mm-hmm. So be careful as you're moving into a relationship with a woman, as you're moving into a marriage with a woman, that you're not conflating where she ranks you as far as your lifestyle benefits, and guys often leading with their lifestyle benefits to get access to sex, and then gets a rude awakening when that woman runs into her sexual first choice. If she doesn't have any integrity. Or she thinks she can get away with it. That's all I'll say.